So the following I am going to show you are clips that I took from just one 3-hour live from one content creator. Now, she did invite on a second content creator and then also had people calling into her show. But this is an example of how the dark side of true crime social media is a cesspool. There was very little factual information at all in that whole 3 hours. There was a lot of misinformation and some flat out lies. And I'm going to set the record straight on a lot of those things in there, debunk a lot of those things. I honestly didn't have time to break down every single thing in that live because there was so much misinformation to deal with. So I've taken the most egregious things. But I want to get started with the disclaimers that that person has before they start their show. So take a listen.
State clearly if something is an opinion or speculation. Opinions are welcome. Misinformation is not. No graphic descriptions, please, for the respect for the families and the victims. And definitely, please, in this stream, no conspiracy, flooding, or derailment. We encourage here open discussion, critical thinking.
So that was a whopper because very little critical thinking takes place in this live of Phoenix's. And all people seem to be doing are conspiracy theories. And there's some even graphic talk about injuries. So if she's worried about the families, maybe she shouldn't be talking about conspiracies or injuries that some of them that didn't even happen. So let's continue.
Is that we know that Brian interviewed at the Pullman Police Department. Did he maybe he's, people have speculated that he was kind of arrogant and knew what he was talking about. Do you think that he could have possibly said something to somebody in the police department about something that they didn't know that he knew about, and he figured probably like, hey, they're trying to clean up the crime, so I don't know. I've always wondered that because, just another thing. What are the odds that he interviewed for the same police force that ends up giving him, or between the two counties? It's just kind of weird. It's also strange. It really makes you wonder because it's the thing for me is like the ties. It seemed like he was more connected to like around the officers, Brian was, than the girls and the evidence, man.
Well, no, it's not weird considering that WSU police and Pullman police would be involved in the investigation since he was a student at Washington State University. So that's not weird. It is a conspiracy theory, though, to think that because he interviewed that they suddenly decided that they needed to make him a patsy or something. That's not what happened. Also, there's no indication he had ties to any of the police in Pullman or Moscow, other than when he interviewed with Chief Jenkins for the assistantship. That WSU program has nothing to do with Moscow police at all. So he didn't have more ties than the victims to anybody in Moscow. And I think a lot of people aren't understanding what that assistantship was about that he applied for. So let's take a look at it. So it's called the Doctoral Level Graduate Research Assistantship for Public Safety. And there was 2 assistantship spots, and they were to help supervise the Complex Social Interaction Lab, which was a partnership between Pullman Police Department and WSU. And the PhD students that supervised the lab would be overseeing a group that would be analyzing body cam video to determine how agencies could better interact with community members during police interactions. Now, we knew before it ever came out recently that he didn't get hired for it, that he didn't get it because A, he wouldn't have been working as a teacher's assistant had he received the assistantship, because that it would have been an either or. You're either doing that social interaction program or you're going to be a TA or another research project. So we know he didn't get it because of that. Also, fairly quickly after his arrest, WSU's marketing and communications vice president told Fox News that he never received entry into the program, which was that complex social interaction lab. And it was also confirmed he never had access to any footage from the lab at all. He says access to that facility is strictly controlled. All research assistants must complete a background check, an FBI Criminal Justice Information Services Level 2 certification, be fingerprinted by the FBI, and sign a confidentiality agreement in order to enter the facility. And access to the facility is tracked through key card records. Student employees did not have access to raw data or personally identifying information from the study either. And also, Moscow Police Department was not part of that body cam footage anyway, because I have heard some of the conspiracy theorists claim that he had accessed the body cam footage from the murders, and that's absolutely false as well. And here's Moscow Police. They told Fox News that their department does not share its body cam archive or any live security camera streams with the researchers at WSU. And we also know he didn't get the assistantship because they had posted the pictures of the two women that received it on their website. And I'm not going to show you their photos because there's been enough harassment of people in this case.
Well, here's the thought after you. I agree with you. And now that you just said that, I mean, think about it. He interviews and he says, I'm going to WSU. I am studying and I need to do my thesis on my PhD. I need to do X, Y, and Z, and I need the job here at Pullman. And when this first broke out and the chief over there was interviewed, he basically said in an article, I can't speak on that until I talk to the city attorneys. So I wonder if Brian was indeed working with them so that he can get his papers done, his study done, PhD, whatever. And this was probably something surrounding it. That was just my humble opinion, right?
So what was actually said by Chief Jenkins was not that he had to consult with an attorney. He said, due to the restrictions of the non-dissemination order issued by the court, that he declined to answer if he had been chosen for the position. But like I said, we already know he hadn't been because of what Phil Weiler said about him not having access to the lab. And also they had the two photos of the women that received the assistantship. Now, as far as that assistantship, that wasn't needed for his doctorate. That was just one of the things you can do to help get your stipend, to pay for your doctorate, to help pay for your housing, to pay for your tuition. So him being a teacher's assistant was what he was doing to get that stipend. There's different assistantship roles that you can apply for. And he was turned down for the social interactions lab assistantship, so he took the teaching assistantship instead. But it's not needed to go towards his papers or his doctorate. It's just helpful in that you learn more things for your professional career through that, but also that's how you pay for your schooling. So now we have one that just doesn't seem to want to die, even though none of the body cam footage shows that she was gone. And the 911 call doesn't show she was gone. And that's that Bethany was just coming back when Officer Nunez was arriving.
When he comes back out, Bethany is parking her car and she's getting out of her car with a friend. If she is supposedly there all night, he passes the car on the street. When he walks out of his car for the first time, you can see it at the other end of the corner. It comes back and parks behind him, and she gets out.
For the 5,000th time, or however much I have shown this, this is Bethany standing at the telephone pole right across from the house. She was not gone. She was on the 911 call. She had just handed the phone to Dylan and the rest of them and walked across the street. And that was not her vehicle. That was Jenna McClure's vehicle, and Jenna was coming because Bethany and Dylan had contacted Jenna.
If she's there all night, where is she coming from with a whole nother person in her car?
Again, she was there all night and she wasn't coming from anywhere because her car also was totaled the month before. That was not her car. And I'll show you a close up. She didn't even have a blue vehicle. Hers is the black one that's all crunched up right there with the Nevada license plate. She had totaled her car the month prior. She did not have a vehicle. And Dylan even mentions that in one of her interviews, that Bethany did not have a vehicle.
Yeah.
Yep. I noticed that in the interrogations too. And when she walks up, like literally, first of all, they was all wrapped in blankets, covering their hands, arms, everything, and in fucking shorts. So that's so weird to me.
I must be missing the part from when Bethany's coming back from across the street as to where they're all wrapped up with blankets covering their hands and feet. The blanket part comes much later, sweetie. Also, I'm not quite understanding why that's important to you anyway, that they later had blankets. It was cold outside. So here they are right after the 911 call when Nunez comes back out of the house, and here's Bethany walking across the street. No blankets.
That's why in my theory, I really do think that when Bethany texted Dylan and said, just come down here, I mean, she was at the other house down the street.
Except that's not the case. And I will explain that a little bit later too, that even Ann Taylor has said the girls were in the house. But also, Bethany was on the 911 call. So she was obviously not anywhere down the street because it was her phone that was used for the 911 call. This is from the official court exhibits. And you'll also see right here in this that BF initiated the 911 call.
So that's what's weird, man, because if you watch her interrogation too, it's like she didn't know anything about anything. She cried really hard in the first 5 minutes, boo-hoo, but who was she with and why weren't they investigated? And I almost wonder, did the killer have Dylan's phone? Because they texted Jack, come get your vape. They texted Bethany. Were they trying to lure more people there to kill them too?
Well, of course, Bethany really didn't know much because she was down on the first floor when things were taking place during the murders. Okay? She never came out of her room. So all she had was what she was hearing and what she was thinking was going on, and then what she was hearing from when Dylan was talking to her. So I don't know what you expect from these kids. They and these conspiracies. No, nobody had their phones. Okay? You understand the FBI, Idaho State Police, all of them looked at their phones. They did Cellbrite extractions of their phones. Also, the Gonsalves has said that those messages from Kaylee to Jack were not out of the ordinary for what she would message him. I think they would have known right away if it was somebody using Kaylee's phone to message Jack, because it would have sounded out of character.
Gosh, you've got some great points, though. I mean, I believe that when we see Bethany pull up, she parks. I think this is probably what you're talking about. And, you know, the insight that you have about this case has been spot on. So, yeah, she does pull up. She pulls up right here. She gets out of the car. Now, I think, and this is just my humble opinion, this plate has a 1A plate. So it's somebody who lives in Boise.
Very good, Phoenix. 1A is an Ada County plate. You know why? Because that's not Bethany's. This was Bethany's vehicle with a Nevada plate that was totaled the month prior. Okay? That was not Bethany pulling up. She had not gone anywhere.
And I do have a feeling, and I said this the other day, that perhaps they weren't there and this was found out and they said everybody needs to get back here.
Yeah, because
and they started calling people.
This is from inmate 16321's 4's attorney, Ann Taylor. They were in the same bedroom. They were together with the ability to talk to each other. Despite her stated fear of having to leave her bedroom, she went to BF downstairs. To get to BF's bedroom, DM passed the front door, or steps from the front door. Neither of them left the house. Did you catch that part? Neither of them left the house. That's your guy, inmate 163214's own attorney, confirming they didn't leave the house, that Dylan and Bethany were both in the house.
If she was close to this 1122 over at the Whites or over at someone else's house, why would she need a car?
I'm giving you a Judge Hippler facepalm for this repeated nonsense, because she wasn't anywhere down the street and she didn't need a car and she didn't have one anyway. So can you guys just stop with the conspiracy that she wasn't there, because it's established fact that she was there?
Right.
Yeah, where was she driving from?
I don't know, maybe she was teleporting from your house, Jess. Would it harm you guys so much to read some documents every now and then?
I mean, if you were at home and you just found out that all of your roommates have been freaking slayed, I mean, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, where, but that's what I wonder, man, because at first I was like, man, Dylan's freaking weird. But then when you think about it, like, if, unless she was for sure 100% tied into whoever did this and knew it was going to happen, I wouldn't put it past the killer or whoever was doing this to be texting from her phone, because I mean, Kaylee, Jack, come get your vape. That's what I think they were trying to set him up.
Okay, let's take a listen here to what the Gonsalveses had to say about them texting and calling Jack.
Kaylee talked to Jack the whole time she was here for that week and a half.
One of her messages, one of her last messages, she reached out to Jack and said, "Jack, get back to me." And he didn't. She goes, "We share a dog together," which they did. She's like, "You need to reach out to me." So
please come over. She was wanting Jack to come over.
I can kind of tell by my daughter's texts, messages. She did call 911. She wasn't saying anything along the lines of like she had heard something or she was in fear. So I'm just putting the dots together.
And also in that last clip, he did not say she did call 911. He said she didn't call 911. If you slow it down, you can tell he's saying didn't. He runs it together. Contraction, didn't. So they heard her voicemails. They saw her text messages. Because remember, Olivia had been able to obtain Kaylee's messages. And there was nothing unusual, nothing out of the ordinary. If they had thought that somebody else was using her phone, they would have had red flags, and it wasn't out of the ordinary.
But also in Jack D's interrogation, they were asking, like, he was, or it was one of the Jacks, either Jack S or Jack D. They said they went to Boise. So maybe, do we know exactly what either of the Jacks were driving?
So you're thinking of Jack Showalter going to Boise, and he didn't go until Monday. So he stuck around on Sunday and decided on Monday to go home. And he drove home through Ontario, Oregon, because I know you're thinking about that car down in Eugene, and that was like the next month. Had nothing to do with Jack Showalter or Jack Ducour, and this is the car that Jack Ducour was driving. It was a Volkswagen. It was parked over there in front of his house.
It's just really weird, man, because she does pull up, and this whole time I've always felt like maybe Dylan was in there. But like I said, dude, I wouldn't put it past whoever this was to walk in the house, shoot them up while they all are asleep.
Okay, nobody was shot, and their wounds were inflicted by a very sharp, non-serrated, straight edge weapon. So a knife. Okay, nobody was shot.
And because at first I was like, no, but I mean, what if Dylan got a drink ball? I mean, I've been roofied before, so I know. So that's why my brain goes back to like, well, maybe she did just get fucked over in this and pulled in, because I think the same thing happened to Molly, the DoorDash driver, if we're being honest.
So you think Molly was dragged into this? That she got roofied and dragged into it? And Dylan? Even though Molly did the delivery and left. So if she had been roped into it, how did she go on and continue her other deliveries that she had? Let's listen.
At the door, then what?
I just got in my car and I left, and I went through campus, and I hit the light as you're coming to Winco, and I got another order to email my phone, so I went back to Pullman to check.
I just don't know if she wasn't there. Like, why lie? Just like, I was home alone, but it makes their story.
Well, you have to have an alibi.
Exactly.
If you're not, if it was just Dylan there alone, she wouldn't have had you have to have somebody that can corroborate your alibi. And that's what I see in this case, Hunter and Emily. But, oh, they're screaming Hunter all night, which, yeah, there are two Hunters, but then everybody wasn't the fuck asleep. That's what makes me mad. And I mean, I don't know, but they do. Everybody lies. And like I said, the truth doesn't change. If you go back and watch the different timings of the interrogation, their stories change.
Okay, I'm still waiting for somebody to point out to me where their lies are and where they change their stories, because Dylan has been consistent throughout. Okay. And what's happening when she may remember something a little later is typical with eyewitnesses, and that memories start coming back in bits and pieces. It's fragmented. Okay. It's trauma, and you're slowly remembering things. And I know some of you are going to say, well, she said she didn't feel scared that night. She didn't. Your brain is trying to protect you, and it's trying to talk you down. And Bethany even talked her down, because Dylan wanted to call the police, and it was Bethany that basically talked her down, trying to rationalize it. Well, you saw Xana, she was wearing all black, trying to convince her that maybe she didn't really see an intruder. And your mind protects you, and it doesn't want you to think the worst. And so I'm so tired of people not understanding that eyewitnesses are not going to sound uniform every time. And in fact, that's kind of a big flag if they sound like they're repeating everything word for word, like a rehearsed statement every time. Dylan sounds very natural, organic. And you can have 5 people see the same car accident, and all 5 are going to have a different account. But does that mean that anybody's lying, or that they're not being consistent in their statements to police? It's just how you are perceiving things, your brain, and how you're perceiving what's going on. So let's move on.
But Bethany wasn't there, 1,000%.
1,000%. Bethany was there, and this is from inmate 163214's own attorney.
Here's what I've always thought. I thought that Dylan was there. I've always thought Bethany was not. And this is Dylan's story, because that is the way it seemed to be to me. And that's my opinion.
Once again, she was there. Do you people not read any documents? Do you not read anything at all?
So when Bethany shows up, and they've got Dylan over there giving the first-hand account, and Bethany's in the background, and all she does is want to get the hell out of there. To me, it felt like this happened much earlier. The police were on scene. They had everybody come back, and they put it on video camera.
In a world of pure imagination.
That was so crazy that you get my Gene Wilder Pure Imagination clip. So you're really going to say that they had every... I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh because this is a serious case, but your theory is absolutely ridiculous. So you're going to say that there was an earlier police presence, and then they had everybody come back and stage everything. And you just think that nobody in the neighborhood noticed at all that there was all this police activity there earlier in the morning? And then everything just goes away, and then later they all come back and recreate the same spots outside and everything else? Like, the mental gymnastics is amazing. You don't want to believe straightforward facts about the case, but you'll twist yourself in a pretzel to create these elaborate conspiracies that I don't even think a Hollywood movie studio would think are credible for a movie plot. Wow.
I don't care what anyone says. It's not possible to do that.
You know,
Poor people.
it's not. I mean, I saw it. Have you guys ever seen the video? I think it might be Austin Fucci, maybe, but he killed this his best friend, like teenage girl, and he literally stabbed her like the same amount, like 120 times probably. And the girl sat at the grand jury desk and she dropped a marble into a container for every time that he stabbed her. And that alone took probably 3 to 4 minutes alone.
Well, actually, I timed it, and it took her 1 minute and 49 seconds. And that was with also having to stop and pick up some of the marbles she dropped, and then somebody asked her to move the jar. And so if you actually remove her doing that, it was 1 minute and 16 seconds. So if you figure that takes about the time for 100 stab wounds, 1 minute and 16 seconds. So 4 victims in a not real big of a house, honestly. I mean, it was 3-story, but it was small. And everybody was contained to 2 rooms. It wouldn't even take the amount of time they say he took. And in fact, when MPD did their timed runs, it took less than that.
There's no way. There's no way. And there was multiple different, so he was running through there with 2 or 3 different weapons, knives, because he has that many hands, and doing that to all.
Yes, there is way. Not no way. There is way, and it's happened several times throughout history. And I'm just going to highlight a few more recent ones. But we have the Bondi Junction stabbing at the Westfield Mall in Australia. 7 deaths. So 10 people were stabbed. 6 of them died because that 7 included the perp. So 10 people stabbed, 6 died, and it took place in 6 minutes. So from 3:32 p.m. to 3:38 p.m. 3:38 p.m. is when he was shot by the police officer. So 6 minutes to stab 10 people and kill 6. Now we also have the Brentwood 5, which was in Calgary in 2014. Now we don't have the exact time for that, but all accounts have been that it took place in less than like 5 or 6 minutes. And 5 people were stabbed to death. And they were in a house, kind of similar to the Idaho case in that one woman was upstairs sleeping and she wasn't stabbed, but she did not come down until later when she heard the other people coming home finding the victims. And in that one, the perpetrator grabbed a knife in the kitchen and then stabbed a person that was lying down sleeping on the couch, and then 3 other people that were seated on another couch, and then he stabbed all of them that were down there in the living room and kitchen with him, and then chased one of them outside into the yard. Authorities said the stabbings occurred quickly and unexpectedly, and the victims had little, if any, opportunity to react. And as far as multiple weapons, again, the medical examiner found that it was just 1 weapon.
Like I said to Birdie last night, bro, if it was me, Casey, and Phoenix, we would kick Brian Koberger's ass. I mean,
Yeah.
even if he ran in and tried to grab one of us. I mean, there was 6 people supposedly in that house.
Okay, I would love to see that. Seriously, I would love to see the 3 of you in 2 different bedrooms where one of you has a blood alcohol of over 0.200 and you're both asleep in the same bed, and then in the other bedroom one of you is asleep and the other one's awake. Well, that would mean 4 people then, not just the 3 of you, but I would love to see you kick his ass in the same situation with all of you unarmed, with him having the element of surprise, and with him immediately stabbing your airways and subclavian arteries. I mean, once a subclavian or a jugular is sliced, you're unconscious within seconds. So, yeah, I would love to see you kick his ass in the exact same situation.
It makes no sense.
Somebody with eye nighttime issues, visual snow, right? In obviously they say the lights were all on, then they say they were all sleeping. So usually when I fall asleep, my lights are off. But I mean, if you think about it.
Well, according to his own attorney, he used to love driving at night and hiking at night and stargazing. So he was doing all kinds of activities at night. So obviously his visual snow was not impairing him from doing any activities in the dark.
About this comment, $118,000, you will keep your mouth shut. That is referring to the GoFundMe that Dylan has.
I would not. If these are supposedly my best friends and I heard them get killed, I'm not keeping my mouth shut for any amount of money, especially if they're about to throw the wrong person in jail the rest of his life.
First of all, she's not keeping her mouth shut. She told law enforcement everything she knew. Okay. Secondly, that GoFundMe that her aunt set up for her was partially prompted because of people like you that have harassed her and bashed her incessantly. Okay. She's going to need therapy, first of all, because of survivor's guilt. She's got to live with all the what ifs for the rest of her life. Now, the one thing is that when she called 911, or when they called 911, did not make a difference as to whether any of them lived or not. That's just the sad reality. She could have called when she saw him leaving, and it wouldn't have changed the outcome. So to keep blaming her and saying that she's lying or that she's keeping her mouth shut for money instead of focusing on the perpetrator is just victim bashing on steroids. And then you wonder why she feels the need to need money for security systems, for secure house, for therapy. Okay? Because the amount of people that have attacked this girl, and I'm going to call her a girl, because at the time this happened, she was 19, okay? Legally, yes, an adult, but at 19, you're still... Anyways, it's just gross, and it's ridiculous to keep bashing her when her actions or inaction had nothing to do with the outcome. It wouldn't have changed the outcome had she called 911 when she saw him.
It's terrifying, dude. I can never imagine, Casey. Imagine if me and like all the vacations we've went on, all the weird shit, everywhere we go, we've always had everyone's back. That's why I've always wondered, was it like a swim fan situation and Dylan was tied into the people, or it just feels weird. I could be wrong. Maybe Dylan was personally victimized and maybe it was she got knocked out, because I wouldn't put it, whoever did this is fucking sadistic.
Yes, he is sadistic, and you're looking at him right here in this photo.
And they're probably listening, but I don't see them just letting someone stay loose in the house. And there is also a door inside the house that has a like a key code on it where you type the numbers in. And I don't know if they ever showed us the inside of that room, but I wondered if they maybe locked her in there, or because what I think they were going to probably kill Dylan. And when Ethan walked in, like I said, they were getting ready to leave, or maybe, but it's weird because they said, let's get ready to go home, or whatever the fuck they said. So for one, if it was just Brian Koberger, hello, who would he be talking to? That's insane. It was two different male voices.
In a world of pure imagination.
Okay, so that room was a utility room that was kept locked by the property management company because that's where they kept supplies, things like that. They don't want you going in and messing around with the furnace and things like that. They're the ones that do the maintenance. So nobody in the house had access to that. And also, where are you hearing these two male voices inside 1122? Because that is not heard from 1122 on the 1112 audio. So I gave you the Gene Wilder clip because those male voices are obviously in your imagination.
So did Dylan just slip by because of that, or was Dylan not there and left her phone? Or I don't know, because it feels like whoever's doing this is very much like a threatening type person. So I wouldn't put it past them. And then,
well, yes, he is a threatening type person.
Murders,
he did murder 4 people. Also, Dylan was
said,
there. I already showed you that.
And I'm like, what?
From
Well,
Ann
see,
Taylor's
hold on a
mouth,
second. I'm pausing
even.
this too much, but I don't need to. So they
as
did
far
tell each
as
other
him
in the
leaving
school.
her alone.
Is no, I don't
Ted
like
Bundy
that. Okay, no.
left
So
people alone in the Chi
so
Omega
obviously,
house.
you know, more than one person knows
He
about
also
what
went
happened.
into houses that had
and they were
4
like
and 5
talking about
people
it.
in them, and
I don't like that.
didn't attack
But
others.
she said to me, "Did you hear
So
about Brian?" And
it
I'm
also
like,
could
"I
just
don't
be
know
that
what you're talking about."
after
She said, "Turn on
he
the news."
murdered
And
4,
then I was like,
he was
"Oh
just
my God."
exhausted.
But
And
with that
also,
said,
maybe he thought Dylan had called 911, so he was ready to hightail it out of there. So there's a lot of reasons, and none nefarious on Dylan's part, for why she wasn't harmed. And thank God she wasn't harmed.
you know, if somebody's got some shit to clean up, dude, money pays for a lot of things. And I mean, you wouldn't believe it. The amount of people who would even sell their own freaking their kids out and shit. It's insane.
Yeah.
You've got a valid point
For
there.
dime bags. So, yeah. Someone definitely would sell their soul just to not go to prison.
Do you think? Oh, absolutely. And you know, Dylan's mom is stepmom, I should say, is a was a former Ada County prosecutor for the DA's office.
Okay, so I'm trying to figure out what her former stepmother being in the prosecutor's office for not even a month has to do with anything. And her former stepmom has been practicing down in California for quite a while in corporate law. So maybe you can enlighten me, Phoenix, on what you're trying to get at.
So, I mean, you know, do you think this might have been about drugs, marijuana, coke, anything like that? Do you guys really believe that this was involving that?
I've contemplated it. I really have, just because the double dipping. And there's a clip, I don't know the officers all by name yet, but he walks up, it's nighttime, and he's like, whoever lives here to come down. And I was like, what the? So I mean, is it a Fruity and Slip?
Come to the door, guys. Send whoever lives here down to the door.
I think you mean that clip, yeah. I honestly don't think that there is anything more to it than just a slip. So, I mean, because they go up to businesses too. And they're like, hey, send whoever's working out, or them, you know. So, you guys get into the weeds on so many things that aren't relevant to the case.
Or is there something, because like I said, between 104 and 106, we see the 3 to 4 males in all black enter the home.
In a world of pure imagination.
Okay, let's watch 104 to 106 here. Please show me where there's any males in black entering 1122 King Road. You do know that this camera doesn't face 1122 King. 1122 King.
Oh no, there's still a blinker
behind the back corner of the house.
Okay, so at 12:12 they're
so
at 4:12.
Please show me where these 2 males enter the house.
And the Walker person, where'd the Walker guy go?
Like, did he go the same direction that he
came from?
But yeah, let's sit
What a
here
weirdo! I don't understand what he's doing. Just aimlessly walking in a circle?
And just so Jules,
aimlessly
the angry
walking in
little
a
elf, doesn't
circle.
get mad at me,
You're a
this is
weirdo,
her
bro.
footage, because yes, she's the one that FOIA'd this footage. So I am going to give her credit for getting that. But yeah.
Text my kid updates.
Where are these males? And again, where is 1122 King in this camera? Oh my gosh, it's not there.
Someone else pulling in?
You know what?
10441.
I'm not even going to sit here and watch this anymore because
I
know you can't tell me when any males
Is that the same
enter
vehicle
the
turning
house
around again?
because you can't see anybody going to
this might be baller, bro.
Their door.
Look at the corner they're sitting at. This might be baller.
Because there's another clip that they swore was not Maddie. They come for a noise complaint and she's standing on the porch with a boy. And when she spots them, she runs in the house. So it was just really weird. Was it like a rug thing and they were forcing them to do it because they were pretty or new? I don't know. But I wouldn't put it past it because they said something about something being flushed. And then if you look in the documents, it said that they had to go to Jack S's house and his toilet wouldn't flush. So did that happen? Did one of the girls take the things somewhere else? Because $275,000 worth of drugs is really $2 million on the street. So
Yeah, that's true. That's a lot of money. It's a lot of money, but was it an inside job? They yelling the cartel did it, and it couldn't be the frats. But when we look at these documents that they've released to the public, it looks like everything led them down to Boise, which the only person in that house that lived that was from that area was Dylan. Bethany was from Nevada, and the only other person that was even connected to that area was Dylan. That's it.
Couple things to unpack there. First of all, that wasn't Maddie in that noise complaint video. It was Bethany, and she didn't run away. She came to the door. Well, I mean, I guess you could kind of say she ran, but like she wasn't out on the porch and ran away. She came to the door, and because she was underage, she obviously was not going to have to take the responsibility with law enforcement for the noise complaint. So she went back in the house and was obviously trying to find somebody that was 21 since there was underage drinking going on. Now, I don't know where Phoenix is getting to with this Boise thing. Yeah, Dylan was from Boise, so what? I don't know what documents you're saying lead to anything down in Boise. If you're thinking of any sort of drug busts, the one that your friend Pavarotti always points to was a drug bust out of Western Washington. And then the Fetty brothers was up in Spokane. So not sure what Boise has to do with anything in the convoluted conspiracy theories. And there's nothing factual out of the case that's rooted in Boise. And as far as the drug flushing story, that came from Tommy Jude, and he laughed about making it up. Let's take a listen.
There's still the rumor that Maddie flushed drugs down the toilet.
You're right. Well, yeah, I'm the one that started all that.
Oh, you are?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yes, I am.
Do you believe that still, Tommy?
I started out with maybe she flushed some drugs down. Maybe she flushed $75,000, and I started out at 75. And the next thing you know, people were saying she flushed down 275,000, and I'm going, okay, whatever.
just like the knife sheath. If you found the knife sheath on the 13th, then why was the chain of custody on the document started on the 16th?
Oh, yeah.
That seems like you have enough time to order a fucking knife sheath off of Amazon and list it in evidence. And at that point, I mean, there was no blood on it, dude. It makes no sense.
Well, the chain of custody on the knife sheath was not started on the 16th. It was started on November 13th, and you'll see right here where it was taken into evidence. See, you'll see right here in this report from Brett Payne that the ISPN team turned these items over to me that evening. So that evening would be 11/13, and I transported them to the MPD temporary evidence storage. On the morning of 11/14/2022, I booked the items into evidence with the help of evidence custodian blank. So they were booked into evidence on the 14th, taken into custody on the 13th. So no, the chain of custody did not begin on the 16th, it began on the 13th.
And if you were going to go in and do a quadruple homicide in under 7 minutes, do you think you would take your gloves off that you put on to keep your anonymity to And I mean, wouldn't he have left any skin cells on the backside of the thing? It's only on the button. And wouldn't it have left a fingerprint? And that's all they have. But then where are all the other weapons? I mean, they said there's multiple weapons. Where are those? Is that what Molly came to get in the middle of the night? Because the DoorDash order, everything is so screwed up in this case, man. And I don't know. It doesn't make sense.
Once again, reminding you that there wasn't other weapons. The medical examiner said the weapon used was not serrated and it was single-edged and very sharp. Also, in my personal opinion, I believe he wiped down the sheath, but missed the spot where his skin cells had come off around the snap.
No,
it doesn't make sense. Was Molly there to pick up the drugs?
That could be, that could be it too. But I really started thinking yesterday, dude, with the timing. If my theory was correct, Phoenix, then that would mean that if the girls got unalived between 3:46 and 3:47, they go to leave at 3:48 after standing there like a bunch of creepy pedophile stalkers. And they go to walk out. You hear two different sets of footsteps, and they did sound loud. So I can see where Dylan's Doc Martens bullshit came from. But they go to walk out. They must have literally just hit the outside of the doorway. And Ethan says, "Oh shit, I'm calling 911." Then you hear that's three. So this is 3:49, but by 3:51, you hear the thud. And guess what time Molly pulls up? 3:51. Then Dylan texts someone at 3:54. So is that why Molly was so freaked out when she had delivered in the area? Because that thud haunted me for a week.
In a world of pure imagination.
There you go again with the imaginary things heard in 1122 King. Okay, you do realize that a lot of the things heard on 1112's audio are not from inside 1122. And you're not going to hear somebody going up and down the stairs over on the audio from 1112. Okay. And where are you hearing Ethan saying these things? How do you even know that's Ethan saying these things? I mean, but let's listen to the audio from the time you reference, because I am not hearing a thud. Okay. I'm not hearing any of what you're claiming, but let's just listen.
Where's the kaboom? There was supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom.
Okay, I did not hear a big boom or a big thud or anything like that. And all I was hearing was people like hooping and hollering. Honestly, sounds like there was games going on in like Shark Tank and in 1112 and those houses right around there, like beer pong and things like that. Like it just sounded like party noises and TV and radio and people goofing off and singing.
And I sat there staring at that house inside and out saying, what could have made that fucking noise? It had to
I
have
was
been the
always
balcony
thinking
or
she
the
went
top of
there
the
to.
roof. Did he try to jump out of a window? They said they
I
saw
always,
a naked man
yeah.
running, you know?
Okay, so the naked man running story was not rooted in any fact. They're trying to say that it was according to Richard Batanti's affidavit that Bethany allegedly witnessed a naked man running through the sliding door. And says she lives on the first floor of the home and came face to face with him. Well, yes, Bethany lives on the first floor of the home, but she's not who came face to face with him. It was Dylan, and it was Dylan that saw him head towards the sliding door. So right there, you already know that's not credible. And if we look at Batanti's affidavit, you'll see that Batanti says nothing about her witnessing a naked man. So that was completely made up by a tabloid.
That's what gets me, bro. How are you going to fucking say that he did this, give him 4 life sentences, and you don't make him produce or a murder weapon or explain anything at all? But there's multiple pictures of Dylan with swords and knives that are way bigger than K-bars, dude. So what is going on?
Actually, this is photoshopped. There's no pictures of Dylan with knives or swords, okay? This is the original picture, okay? And then this one, also photoshopped. I unfortunately don't have the original saved anymore, but she was holding a lighter, and if you look, you can see where her thumb and the top of her index finger are illuminated from the lighter, and you can see where the K-bar proportion is completely wrong because they photoshopped it in her hand, and you can even see right through the knuckles there of the first and second finger, and you don't see the K-bar handle through there. So bad Photoshop job. And then the picture with the watermelon, that was Xana and Emily. That was not Dylan holding that. And it wouldn't matter anyway because that machete was not in the house and was not used as the weapon. So even if that had been Dylan in that one watermelon photo, it's irrelevant. But people have been photoshopping pictures of Dylan from the start, and it's just disgusting. And then the fact that you guys don't do your due diligence to fact check before you run with these things is even more disgusting.
Where are the weapons? Why did someone go to South Africa, Mexico, and fucking Boise or wherever else?
First of all, you'll have to ask inmate 163214 what he did with the weapon because he's the only one that knows where he put it. And again, jackass, he went to Boise on Monday. He did not go to Africa. Yes, his parents do charity medical procedures over in Africa, and he has been there, but he did not go there after the murders. That was completely a lie, completely made up. And again, the people that don't fact check keep spreading this crap like it's fact, and it's not.
So I heard that, no college is going to want to dish out close to $500 million to these families. The theory is that these families know that this is not right, that this is not really what happened. And the reason that Brian didn't say anything when he was sentenced is because if he did, it could be held against him if the bill were to get open again. So the theory is this college is going to reopen this case, prove that Brian was never really a threat, that he never actually did it. He's going to get exonerated, and that school will not have to pay the money to these families.
In a world of pure imagination.
Okay, that's not how a civil case works. It has nothing to do with the criminal case at all. This civil case is strictly about whether WSU violated their own policies that are in their handbook, their own Title IX anti-discrimination policies. So when they know a student is threatening, stalking, harassing female students, did they follow their own policies? It will not reopen the criminal case. The families are not doing this because they think it will reopen the criminal case. And in fact, they believe 100% that inmate 163214 is who committed the crime. This is about accountability because WSU created an environment that was unsafe, and WSU is going to have to defend itself on whether they followed policies, or ironically, if they were more concerned about a lawsuit from inmate 163214, they fired him. So if they were more worried about money than the safety of female students, it's kind of ironic that they're probably going to end up settling, because I don't think they're going to want to have a lot of the unsavory things from that university come out. And they've had a few problems over the last couple of years as far as student safety. So, but no, that's, you guys are completely delusional if you think it will reopen the criminal case or that it has anything to do with the criminal case. It's strictly about WSU and how they handled the complaints, the 13 complaints in a semester. 13 complaints.
It would be really nice, man. It would be really nice for someone to do their
Wow.
fucking job, man. It would be so nice. And somebody even commented on my thing, like, you're going to fuck up the lawsuit for these parents, blah, blah, blah. Like, dude, what do you mean? If there's a serial killer out here, what do you mean?
Imagine wanting to get a quadruple murderer freed. Also, you guys doing videos aren't going to mess up the civil suit, okay? That why people are getting upset about the spreading of the misinformation that you guys are doing is because it causes harm, okay? It causes harm to the families, to the surviving roommates, to the friends of the victims, okay? You may not think that what you're doing is harmful, and you might be like, oh, it's just my opinion, but opinions and speculation that aren't rooted in facts are misinformation, and they're harmful. And also sometimes there's just flat out lies in your guys' videos. And yes, the families, the survivors, the friends try to tune all that out, but it still filters back to them, unfortunately. People will tag them and things. People will send them death threats because they get ginned up listening to the stuff you guys are putting out. So this is the end of this for now. This was part 1. I had wanted to do one whole long form video, but I realized there's just so many segments to get through. So this is part 1. So look for part 2 coming hopefully tomorrow, if not Monday, because just got quite a bit of stuff to do. And that new document drop that came out yesterday kind of sidetracked me as well. But if you have any questions on anything that I covered in here, let me know. And if you need to know where to find anything in the documents, also let me know.